Alright, well, I'm not feeling that great today, but I need to make this video. So today we're going to talk about propaganda and where Donald Trump's approval ratings are at right now. And go over some things, maybe a little bit of strategy or something, some things that we could possibly do to deal with it. My opinion is that if MAGA is afraid of something, that's what we should do. So, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a few things. And I apologize in advance, but I really do not have a lot of time to be spending on doing things like video editing. So I am going to kind of fly through this one, and the editing might be a little bit choppy. I just want to get it done. I got way too much on my plate, but I do feel like there's certain things that we need to talk about, and this is one of them. So today is March 29th, 2025. I'm on a website called northjersey.com. And it says that according to this week's most current Reuters IPSOS poll, 45% approve of Trump's job performance compared to 44% just a couple of weeks prior. I would hope that almost anybody watching this video would understand why that is a problem. This is a person who, if you're paying attention, appears to be trying to do deliberate harm to the country and literally kill American citizens, being like our veterans and people on Medicaid and elderly on SSA. This is unacceptable, and this is what we need to work on and what we need to fix, because that is still a substantial portion of the population. And I know that a lot of people feel like this is a hopeless and stressful solution as far as dealing with MAGA goes. Alright, so today is March 29th, 2025, and I am on a website called northjersey.com, and this says, according to this week's most current Reuters/IPSOS poll, 45% approve of Trump's job performance compared to 44% just a couple weeks prior. His overall rating remains higher than his first term and higher than what Biden polled during most of his administration. I would assume most of the people watching this right now would understand why that is a problem. That is a problem because we're dealing with a president who has, 34, 35, somewhere in that window, felony convictions that, if you're paying attention, appears to be trying to deliberately harm American citizens, appears to be trying to kill American citizens. That, by definition, first of all, is treason. So he shouldn't be holding office. There's a lot going wrong here, and I just expect anybody on my platform to understand that this is not good. It's not good that this many people still support someone who is deliberately trying to harm the country and coordinating with foreign enemies. Alright, so today is March 29th, 2025, and as of right now, I'm looking at a website called northjersey.com. It says, according to this week's most current Reuters/IPSOS poll, 45% approve of Trump's job performance compared to 44% just a couple weeks prior. I'm just going to double check and see when this was published. Yeah, this was published March 28th, 2025. So that is a problem. I would assume and expect that most of the people coming on my platform or watching this video right now would understand why that is a problem. We have a president who definitely appears to be deliberately trying to attack the United States of America and its people. This is a person who has said that he wants a bloodbath. I personally don't feel like somebody who's going to say such things has the interest of my well-being or the nation's well-being in mind. Other than that, if you are trying to deliberately harm people or kill American citizens, which is what is going to happen if we lose access to health care and all of this stuff. I mean, if that is the definition of treason, deliberately trying to do harm to the American people is treason. That is what treason is. So we have a treasonous president who's been violating the crap out of the Constitution and needs to be removed. But damn near half of the population is okay with this. And that's a problem. So, let's take a look at, before we get too deep into this, I think, there's some other stuff that I want to look at. We need to think about why it is that these people are the way that they are. We're going to go ahead and pull up IQ statistics. Alright, so now we're on a website called medium.com. It looks like this might be a personal article, but I like how it's formatted, so we're going to go ahead and look at it. This is IQ distribution in the United States. It was published October 18th, 2023. I'm just trying to get across a vague idea of what it is that we're actually dealing with here. And I really like the visuals in this article, so I think that this is a very good way to try and get the point across. People can go more in depth into this issue if they would like to, but I'm a whistleblower and I'm trying to fix problems, so I'm not spending all day doing this. I need to get caught up and get the public educated and get to working on the problem. So, alright, so this website, worlddata.info, has a breakdown of countries by IQ. Hong Kong is on the top, man. China's just looking better and better. Wait, Hong Kong is not part of China. China has an average IQ of 104, dude. United States is 31st on the list with an average IQ of 97. Alright, so this is a website called visualcapitalist.com. They have a map. Average IQ by state, and this is the map. This is what it looks like, so that ought to give you a vague idea. Go ahead and take a moment to look at that. And this website claims that this information is based on analysis of exam scores from the Program for the International Assessment of Adult Competency, PIAAC, which I'm pretty sure is the standard in IQ measurements. National Assessment of Educational Process. Now, I don't know how credible this resource is, but we're just trying to get a generalized idea of what we're dealing with here. I went ahead and plugged that data in from a website titled medium.com. It looks like the resource that the person who wrote this article got this information from would be a publication from the Ulster Institute. I don't know how credible they are. This would be the resource. Let's see if we can find it in here. Okay, so this information is fairly recent. I'm not seeing like a publication copyright on here, but I'm seeing 2013 cited in the sources, and there's obviously a lot of sources. So I am not the expert on IQ, but this is where the information comes from. I think it's kind of weird that the distribution is the same on both sides. And this is based on a total population of 333 million. So it's a little bit outdated. And I have my AI break it down to make this easy because I want a percentage. So, let's get calculator. And we're going to take 2.2 plus, that's roughly about 50%. Roughly about half of the population, 50% of the population has an IQ below 100. And then the other half it's the same statistic on both sides. It's kind of weird, but I mean, it looks like they did their research, so that's what we're dealing with. That ought to give you a very general idea of what we're dealing with. I don't understand what's going on with that other map, but the map that is being provided by the person that provided these statistics, I mean, it's the same statistic. I just broke it down into percentages. Smart people, not as smart people. This person did all the reading for us. So, yeah, this breakdown is way different than that other map. But this website is at least citing a source. And it looks like that source has a shit ton of information. So we're going to go with that. But this is what we're looking at. This is what we're dealing with. And I think that this is the cause of our problems. So there's some additional information I want to go ahead and take a look at while we're in this. We need to try and understand why it is that half of the fucking population is still supporting Trump even though he's attacking the country and trying to hurt people. Alright, so I was in college just like around, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And my professor was quite alarmed because these are fairly recent statistics that are starting to come out about the average reading competency in the United States. So, this says that the average American reads in the 7th to 8th grade level. Last I checked, it was 6th grade, so I'm kind of worried that some of these numbers might be doctored. I feel like this might be the exploitation of information. Alright, so now we're on the website of the National Literacy Institute. And this is something that we need to be paying attention to. So more than half of the population has a literacy below the 6th grade level. So I was right, and people are trying to doctor statistics to make the problem look like it's not as bad as it is because they're trying to hide something, and they're probably the people that are manipulating people. And if you're trying to manipulate people, well, that's exactly what I would expect you to do. But these are the numbers, dude. This is what people need to understand. Like, half of the population has functioning brains and actually learns, and the other half doesn't. This, I personally feel, is the cause of all of our problems and where we're at today. And I think that understanding this is how we're going to fix, part of how we're going to fix this problem that we're dealing with. I am operating under the understanding. I'm surprised that I found people that read, like my followers, the people that are hanging out with me online. They read. They're not stupid. They didn't vote for Trump. These are people who read that I have following me, but we also need to understand that when we're dealing with a national crisis where people are being exploited and manipulated and taken advantage of due to the fact that they're stupid. If more than half of the population reads at a middle school level, we have a problem. So, I also took psychology when I was in college as part of my prerequisites for the degree that I had been pursuing at the time. And one of the classes that we're required to take was psychology. And psychology is also something that I educate myself on quite a bit. And as we go along here, some people may understand why that's such an important issue for me. So first of all, IQ and continuing education are directly related. If a person continues to learn and educate themselves, their IQ does increase. IQ increases with education. People are more receptive to information. Sorry, sometimes I have a hard time remembering what I'm trying to talk about, and it's really hard to make sure that I'm addressing all the things that I want to and need to address when I'm making videos, especially when I'm doing it on the fly. And if I'm going to wind up being a content creator and I have to continue doing this kind of stuff, it's going to be an issue for me, and there's going to be a lot of editing. But video education is a lot more effective than reading. And that's part of the reason why such a large portion of the American population is on TikTok, because it's an easier way to learn. Now, I'm going to give you an example, and this is something that we went over in psychology class, is like if I witness an event, it's that sensory stimulation. Okay? If I'm watching a video of a guy that is mishandling a tool and not operating it safely, and they just so happen to cut their hand off, well, I may not have witnessed it first person, but if I witness it on a video, it's going to have a larger impact on my mind than it would if I was like reading a book or something. Now, when you're reading, you are, engaging in an action. And, for example, like if you take an action like taking notes while you're reading, you're more likely to remember things. So there's all kinds of stuff going on with the brain. But teaching and educating is more effective when it's done in a way that stimulates the senses. And that's part of the reason why there's people out here also expressing concern over the use of virtual reality, because it could potentially do long-term psychological harm to the individuals using it, causing a lack of ability to differentiate subconsciously. But if I've got audio and visual stimulation, that's a lot more like having real life stimulation. Just watching a video. And some people are dyslexic, y'all. But I believe that, we have an education crisis. People have been locked out of the colleges. The colleges have just been on this ridiculous crime spree of looting everybody and charging as much as they possibly can and not prioritizing education. I went to one of those schools. It didn't last long. And then I went to a school that wasn't charging me out the ass, where people were actually educating. So I'm not here to dog on education, but we do have an issue, and we have a lot of things as a country that we need to fix. So if you watch my previous video, you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about when it comes to that. I don't want to go on a big tangent. But there's that. So I do think that we can get through to these MAGA people. Something I have to wonder about is like Donald Trump is out here advocating for violence, advocating for killing American citizens, for harming people. He's such an ugly and despicable, just horrible person, everything he stands for. I can't understand how somebody could be so evil in their heart and their soul. There is something legitimately wrong with this person. And again, we've seen these people that are involved with MAGA using a lot of substances, so that may have something to do with it. I do think that Donald Trump is partaking in substance abuse along with his buddies. There's a lot going wrong here. But one of the things I tell people is when it comes to abuse and being mistreated, you're never going to understand evil if you are not that way. So don't try to understand it, because it's not understandable. It's still wrong. Alright, so I just recently published this article, 2 days ago. So we're going to go ahead and give this a listen to get a better idea as to why it is that so many people support Trump.
Why so many people still support Trump. Waffles Mcgrawl. March 27, 2025. Donald Trump is a convicted rapist, and a lot of the people involved with his MAGA movement are as well. I am very confused about why so many people seem to support him. These MAGA people just seem to be evil. Why do this many people support him? Are there really that many Americans who want to hurt other people so badly that this is how they see the world? You're not alone in feeling overwhelmed or disoriented by this. It can be deeply unsettling to watch someone with a record of harmful behavior, not just alleged, but in Trump's case, legally confirmed, like the E. Jean Carroll defamation and sexual assault judgment, retain widespread support. It makes many people question the moral compass of those around them and the health of the society they live in. Here's a forward-thinking, honest breakdown to help make sense of this dynamic, because understanding it is key to changing it. Magnifying glass: why so many people still support Trump. Support for Donald Trump isn't driven by one single factor. It's a complex mixture of 1. Identity politics and cultural warframing. Many Trump supporters don't just see him as a politician, they see him as a symbol of resistance against a system they believe has ignored or abandoned them. Trump frames every criticism of him as an attack on them. This creates a ride or die bond, even when his behavior is indefensible. 2. Propaganda and disinformation. People have been fed years of right-wing propaganda, Fox News distortion, QAnon conspiracies, and social media echo chambers. Disinformation reframes reality. Crimes become persecution, convictions become witch hunts, and violence is painted as patriotism. 3. Authoritarian appeal. There are people who are drawn to power, cruelty, and the promise of domination over others. Sadly, for some, hurting others feels empowering, especially if they've been taught to hate those different from them, by race, religion, gender, or politics. 4. Emotional manipulation and fear. Trump taps into fear, anger, and resentment, then offers himself as the only savior. He blames immigrants, LGBTQ+ people, people of color, and progressives for social problems, and some people believe it because it gives them a simple answer to their pain. 5. Moral desensitization. Constant exposure to lies, cruelty, and chaos wears people down. Some stop caring about what's right or wrong, they just want their side to win. Brain, but are that many Americans really evil? Not inherently. But here's the hard truth. Some people have been radicalized. That doesn't mean they're born evil, it means they've been taught to see cruelty, domination, and violence as justified, necessary, or even noble. That kind of indoctrination can happen slowly and emotionally, not always rationally. Others are simply apathetic, willfully ignorant, or caught in the delusion that what they're doing is patriotic. Some are just selfish and think, if I get mine, who cares? Light bulb: what you're feeling is valid. You're observing a moral crisis, not just a political one. It's terrifying to realize that millions of people will rationalize abuse, sexual violence, racism, and authoritarianism to protect someone they idolize. But awareness is power. Seedlings. So what do we do? Tell the truth. Repeatedly. Calmly. Boldly. Protect vulnerable people and raise your voice for them. Fight disinformation with education. Build communities grounded in empathy, justice, and truth. Never give in to apathy or silence. You're already doing something powerful by asking these questions and seeking clarity. Keep going. You're not alone. Millions of people are asking the same questions, and every one of them matters. Would you like help crafting messaging or content to educate others about this? Or maybe support processing it emotionally? I've got your back either way. 4. You said. What can we do to break this down and get these people supporting better things? A lot of them have low IQs. ChatGPT said. You're asking a deeply important question. How do we reach people who seem unreachable, especially when they've been radicalized or misled? It's not easy, but there are paths forward, and people have come back from extremism. This is about healing on a cultural level, not just winning debates. Let's talk real strategies. Wrench step by step. How to reach and rehumanize lost minds. 1.
Alright, so now we're going to take a moment to look at this article that I recently published to discuss, why it is that so many people are still supporting Trump and what we can do about it.
Why so many people still support Trump. Waffles Mcgrawl. March 27, 2025. Donald Trump is a convicted rapist and a lot of the people involved with his MAGA movement are as well. I am very confused about why so many people seem to support him. These MAGA people just seem to be evil. Why do this many people support him? Are there really that many Americans who want to hurt other people so badly that this is how they see the world? You're not alone in feeling overwhelmed or disoriented by this. It can be deeply unsettling to watch someone with a record of harmful behavior, not just alleged, but in Trump's case, legally confirmed, like the E. Jean Carroll defamation and sexual assault judgment, retain widespread support. It makes many people question the moral compass of those around them and the health of the society they live in. Here's a forward-thinking, honest breakdown to help make sense of this dynamic, because understanding it is key to changing it. Magnifying glass: why so many people still support Trump. Support for Donald Trump isn't driven by one single factor. It's a complex mixture of 1. Identity politics and cultural warframing. Many Trump supporters don't just see him as a politician, they see him as a symbol of resistance against a system they believe has ignored or abandoned them. Trump frames every criticism of him as an attack on them. This creates a ride or die bond, even when his behavior is indefensible. 2. Propaganda and disinformation. People have been fed years of right-wing propaganda, Fox News distortion, QAnon conspiracies, and social media echo chambers. Disinformation reframes reality. Crimes become persecution, convictions become witch hunts, and violence is painted as patriotism. 3. Authoritarian appeal. There are people who are drawn to power, cruelty, and the promise of domination over others. Sadly, for some, hurting others feels empowering, especially if they've been taught to hate those different from them, by race, religion, gender, or politics. 4. Emotional manipulation and fear. Trump taps into fear, anger, and resentment, then offers himself as the only savior. He blames immigrants, LGBTQ+ people, people of color, and progressives for social problems, and some people believe it because it gives them a simple answer to their pain. 5. Moral desensitization. Constant exposure to lies, cruelty, and chaos wears people down. Some stop caring about what's right or wrong, they just want their side to win. But are that many Americans really evil? Not inherently, but here's the hard truth. Some people have been radicalized. That doesn't mean they're born evil, it means they've been taught to see cruelty, domination, and violence as justified, necessary, or even noble. That kind of indoctrination can happen slowly and emotionally, not always rationally. Others are simply apathetic, willfully ignorant, or caught in the delusion that what they're doing is patriotic. Some are just selfish and think, if I get mine, who cares? Light bulb: what you're feeling is valid. You're observing a moral crisis, not just a political one. It's terrifying to realize that millions of people will rationalize abuse, sexual violence, racism, and authoritarianism to protect someone they idolize. But awareness is power. Seedling: so what do we do? Tell the truth. Repeatedly. Calmly. Boldly. Protect vulnerable people and raise your voice for them. Fight disinformation with education. Build communities grounded in empathy, justice, and truth. Never give in to apathy or silence. You're already doing something powerful by asking these questions and seeking clarity. Keep going. You're not alone. Millions of people are asking the same questions, and every one of them matters. You're asking a deeply important question: how do we reach people who seem unreachable, especially when they've been radicalized or misled? It's not easy, but there are paths forward, and people have come back from extremism. This is about healing on a cultural level, not just winning debates. Let's talk real strategies. Wrench step by step. How to reach and rehumanize lost minds. 1. Dismantle shame-based communication. Fire: don't say, "You're stupid for believing that." Seedling: try, "I used to think something similar too. Want to know what changed my mind?" Quote. People shut down when they feel attacked or embarrassed. Instead of confronting with facts first, led with emotion and curiosity. If they feel safe with you, they're more likely to be open later. 2. Rebuild community and purpose. MAGA is more than politics, it's a social identity. People often join extremist movements because they feel disconnected, invisible, or powerless. The best way to counter that isn't arguing, it's offering a healthier group to belong to. Create or support local spaces, churches, online groups, art, music projects, where people can heal, learn, and feel valued without needing to hurt others. 3. Use storytelling, not stats. Bar graph people don't change because of graphs. Open book they change because of stories. Share stories of real people hurt by policies or rhetoric they support. Tell your own story if you've overcome hate, ignorance, or fear. Stories bypass defenses and touch people's humanity. 4. Deprogram through media literacy. The MAGA movement thrives on information control. Teach critical thinking and media literacy, especially to young people. Help people recognize how they're being manipulated, ads, algorithms, biased headlines. Encourage time off rage-based media, Fox News, far-right YouTube, Facebook echo chambers. 5. Focus on economic justice and security. Many MAGA supporters are hurting financially and looking for someone to blame. They've been taught to blame immigrants or woke culture instead of corrupt corporations or tax-dodging billionaires. When you talk about fairness, job security, clean water, healthcare, you connect with something real. Reframe the battle. It's not left versus right, it's the people versus the corrupt elite. 6. Break the influence of fear. Fear narrows people's minds. Hope opens them. Don't feed their fear. Offer hope, safety, and dignity, even if you think they don't deserve it. That's how you interrupt the cycle of abuse and manipulation. 7. Be strategic. Know when to walk away. Some people aren't ready. And that's okay. Your energy is sacred. Don't waste it on those too far gone to hear you right now. Focus on the reachable middle, especially the young, the confused, and the quiet watchers. Brain about IQ. You mentioned many have low IQs. That may feel true sometimes, but the issue isn't just intelligence. It's emotional vulnerability, misinformation, and conditioning. Plenty of intelligent people also fall for cult-like thinking because it meets an emotional need. That's the root. If we want a better world, we need a cultural movement built on compassion, accountability, emotional education, and truth.
So, I don't think that there's any one solution to the kinds of problems that we're dealing with, and I'll probably close this video out with that. But I do think this is a problem that we need to get fixed, because this is half of the population being weaponized against the other half of the population being us, the higher educated. So why are we letting this happen, first of all? But I don't see this situation getting better if these people are this easily manipulated and taken advantage of. I think we need to do something about this so that overall the standard of living in the United States can improve. So, I think that we definitely have, here's 34% of wiggle room that we have that we can probably work with. Okay, these are people who don't read. So we need to remember that. They're illiterate. And they don't care either. But I do think that there is ways that we can try to get the message across. And I do not think it's unethical, because we're actually trying to save lives and save our own fucking country at this point, because we're seeing Nazi salutes on the global stage, and it's going to result in us getting bombed. Our politicians are taking random ass people who are just trying to visit and shoving them into concentration camps, and then going and making propaganda videos at the concentration camps while wearing very expensive jewelry. So we need to fix this problem. This is not a, I don't see this as a question mark. I see this as something that if we want life to get better, this is something we need to fix. So I've had roughly about like 2 or 3 years now that I've had a vague idea of what our problem is that is coming our way with. I didn't think it was going to get this bad, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad it got this bad because I feel like these guys are being so reckless. I mean, it's all out in the open. That gives us a better chance to handle things early on. They suck at crime. Let's be grateful for that. We need to find ways to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again. If we're seeing Nazi salutes and citizens getting put in concentration camps, if we care about our country and we want to secure our country and have a safe place for all of us, we need to get this fixed. So, I mean, at least I've had some sort of advance notice that there was some crazy stuff that's been going on and what the nature of it is. Due to the fact that I'm a woman that works in the trades, and I've dealt with a lot of discrimination in the past, you know, the political environment right now that Donald Trump has created has just made things so much worse for me. I normally don't experience these kinds of problems in landscaping. Normally it gets settled, but it's worse right now. So I have to look at the fact that I'm getting treated differently and that I'm getting alienated and being put in a position where I'm not able to make a living just because of the fact that I'm female as a result of what this piece of crap is doing. And then with me not being able to claim my benefits and all of that stuff, like, and losing jobs, not being able to work, I panicked and I went straight to college and I started getting a college education with it in mind, you know, on my FAFSA, that this is what I'm dealing with. So I've been looking for solutions the whole time and looking at what is the situation that's going on. I want to remind people, you know, in the history of the United States, good thing I took history. I can clearly see that Donald Trump and his buddies appear to be human trafficking. They appear to be slave trading. That is illegal. All this stuff that's going on with the migrants. But you know, a lot of people have not had it easy here, okay? We have a drug crisis. And all the way back in history, people were selling their children into slavery to get on boats to come to America. Other than that, the mindset of steal from others to survive is not sustainable. And I personally do not believe that this is how you have a functioning nation or a nation that's going to survive. Okay, here's a clear example. You know, as a landscaper and a sustainability focused person, when I see people cutting down Christmas trees and driving them around on top of their cars, man, I grow trees. Okay, I have a little, I'm trying to build a nursery, and instead I'm like doing all this work that I'm not getting paid for to be a whistleblower because I'm locked in a room because I have no access to the basic fundamental resources that I need to survive right now. But it takes a long time to grow a tree. It's like 5 years, I think. 4 or 5 years. These trees that our customers buy, that's how long it takes for them to grow. And I get really mad. Like, we had a customer a while back that wanted us to get rid of a tree because they didn't like the very tip of the tree. Like, do you not understand how long it takes to grow a fucking tree? You're having me take this whole tree out. It would have wound up in the trash. It is in my yard right now. I took it home. You know, we've got all kinds of issues. A lot of time you can't, it's not something that's just going to replace itself. So the trees that are getting cut down for people's Christmas trees are probably 2 or 3 years old, I would assume. But we are in a situation where, as Americans, we need to come together and start being a nation. There's a lot of things that people view as the way we've always done it. Well, the way we've always done it, this country is like 200 years old. Okay? Jimmy Carter just died at like the age of 100. That ought to give you some perspective on what is actually going on here, okay? A bunch of people came in on boats and they acted all kinds of crazy, committed genocide, engaged in a bunch of atrocities, invaders. But now we have people who are actually a part of this country. And we need to learn how to function as a country, because if we continue to steal everything from others and destroy all of our natural resources, this nation is going to deplete itself. You're going to run out of people to steal from. There will be nobody producing if this is made to be the way to survive. Nobody will be producing. Everybody will be stealing. So then who are you going to steal from when everybody else is thieves and nobody is producing? This is not how you have a functional society. This is not how you have a functional world. We cannot have some delulu, disgusting monster that really just should not be on the planet Earth anymore as our president, doing all of these despicable acts with his few buddies. These people are people. Now, obviously, there are people with some serious psychological problems, probably psychopaths that we're dealing with, which are a very small portion of the population, but they're not special, okay? We don't need to be giving these people all this control just because people want to be caught up in fear. There are a lot of people that have not had a good family raising. There is so much psychological data available to prove why, like, abuse and stuff and all this stuff is not good. You know, the functional family unit is something that we actually need instead of just having women being beaten by rapists and then murdered. Because that is what is currently happening in this country. So we will look into some of the stuff about, like, what's going on with women and violence and the migrants and all that later. But there's that. I mean, we need to start actually having some decency and some social standards. Because there's countries all over the world that did not do this kind of shit to each other. And that's a functional society. America looks really stupid right now. This is not how you have a functional society. So how did we get where we are today? Okay, there's a lot of different, like, there's biological drivers, you know, loneliness. A lot of people say that we have a loneliness epidemic, and I'm not trying to encourage anybody to put themselves in danger and try to befriend MAGA. I have all kinds of solutions I'm going to try to offer on this one. Because these are hostile people. They have been taught that violence is a good thing. But ultimately, the only thing that's going to result in, if we allow this to continue and become how our country is just an absolute hellscape, and the planet's probably going to get blown up. And we're most likely going to get blown up if this keeps going. So we need to start educating our uneducated populace, and we know that they don't read. So I want to show you something that I found a little bit concerning, which is actually what prompted me to go ahead and decide to do this video. Okay, so I'm looking at my video performance. These are two separate videos. They're just like little memes, just a photo uploaded to TikTok. And you know, the view count is based on the amount of interactions, and this number's actually changed. But we're going to have a discussion about this, okay? So here's a news article. This is about, you know, the fact that they're trying to reintroduce child labor. Oh, I wish that would populate. Why is it doing that? Yeah, so anyways, I mean, it's just basic ass news article, okay? It says Florida may loosen child labor laws to fill gap left by migrants. So it looks like the statistics have kind of like evened out, but you know, when I was watching these two, this one, which is a meme, and it's got little cartoon children, and it says plausible news, talking about the same issue, took right off. Okay, this got a lot more interest than the other one. Now, we're looking at a half and half split as far as what is going on in the population. But I'm really surprised to see that, like, a meme like that took the fuck off like that. Because, like, are you people fact-checking shit? You know? These are things that people need to know about. Child labor? So, I'm a government whistleblower. I'm out here trying to alert people. You know, I tried to stop all of this before it fucking happened. And it's like people don't want to listen. They don't understand. They don't hear me. You know, I'm not being heard. I mean, I'm being heard now. But people want to be entertained. And that's part of the problem that we have. You get a scientist and they start talking all sciencey, and then people's eyes just glaze over because they don't understand and their brains having to process shit. And a lot of people are just, obviously half of the population is not wired that way. So, memes work. And obviously it's working for Donald Trump and Elon Musk. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at another thing here. Alright. So we're going to move forward and go ahead and have a brief discussion about what it is, that's going on with MAGA and propaganda. So on the left, I made that. On the right, MAGA made that, and they distributed that. So pretty much what happened was I was watching the news, and the person who was covering the news mentioned that MAGA was distributing this. So I just screenshotted the one on the right. I just screenshotted it from the video and then went in and made a more accurate depiction. So I'm pretty sure, people keep saying that they're on the rise here. Let's see. So I think it was the Federal Reserve. I'm looking this up right now. So there's an average egg price breakdown. I want a fucking news article. Is there news on this? Yeah, egg prices are surging again. So people are saying that the Federal Reserve... Oh, it says Waffle House. I feel special. People are saying that the Federal Reserve is out here telling people that egg prices are going up. Yet MAGA on social media is circulating this ad that says that egg prices are on the decline, that they've decreased by this much since this date. And then there's a little comparison, and on the bottom right it says promises made, promises are kept. So I just went into AI to get more accurate numbers. And that's roughly what we're looking at. And I did post this online, and people are commenting, well, they're higher in my area. But this is what they're doing. That one on the right, that is blatant falsehoods. And they're pumping this stuff out to their base. Okay? It looks credible. So you know what they used is Times New Roman font. And I'm finding that they're using Times New Roman font on a lot of things. And Times New Roman font is a basic default font. It is not copywritten, so you can use it. And I suggest that we do these kinds of things. Because this is a low blow, and I will say that took me somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes. It did not take me very long to just duplicate their shitty fucking ad. Their graphic designer sucks. And that's something that we need to take advantage of, because they're pumping out so much just low grade, real cheap, shitty propaganda like this. But if they're going to spread blatant falsehoods and people are lapping it up, it looks like it has credibility. It looks like something you'd see on the side of a fucking bus station or something, but it's not true. And people are believing it because a graphic designer made it. So I'm using Photoshop. So for you guys that are out here making graphics with Canva and stuff, I would suggest getting some software, some form of software installed on your computer and figuring out how to use it. Because even if you can't afford Photoshop, there's a free one. But this is what they're doing. And this is how they got all these people in the trap. So I took the time to go all the way through Edward Bernays' book on propaganda, because he's the authority on the issue. And he says when you start perverting propaganda and you start using it to, do things like spread blatant falsehoods, it's going to lose its hold. I don't think it's wrong to combat propaganda with propaganda. So I want to openly endorse, this is what this whole video is about. I want people doing this because we're dealing with a lesser educated audience, and part of the use of propaganda is to educate people. That's one of the things that Bernays talks about in his book, is that people don't have time to be reading all this stuff. Obviously, these people don't read. But I mean, nobody has the ability to be educated on everything. And sometimes having somebody who knows more about something tell you, teach you, educate you, can be helpful. So I don't think that we're doing a disservice if we start taking their bullshit and turning it right back around on them. And I think that's exactly what we need to do, because that's how we got here. So then we want to look at some other examples. And I apologize, I'm a little bit disorganized. So I think it was Elon Musk. One of them was out there on social media. They made a post, Democrats are demented genocidal war sluts. So I just took it and I made one that said Republicans are demented genocidal war sluts, because they're the ones that are funding the genocide. They're the ones trying to engage in war, and they seem pretty demented to me. So I just wanted to see that manifested as truth instead of falsehood. I mean, people want to come out here and make all this argument that Trump's stupid, and I think that that's not a good thing, that people are doing that. No, these people have a plan, and yeah, they're kind of stupid, but at the same time, if you're going to discount them so much that you're not paying attention to what they're doing, that's not going to help either. Because they are knowingly making false statements. They are knowingly taking facts and turning the facts into the opposite. That's what they've been doing. They're fucking spin doctors. Another thing they'll do is present information that's truthful and then take the other half of the whatever they're saying and turn it into falsehoods to meet their agenda. So then people are more likely to buy into their bullshit. This is what we need to combat. Alright, so now we're going to take a look at some of the video propaganda that MAGA has been trying to pump out. This has caused quite an uproar. This is being provided by ANI News. Let's go ahead and take a look. So a lot of people already know, people are being detained, and they're being detained illegally and sent to a camp in El Salvador, which a lot of people are referring to as a concentration camp. This is a place with different prison standards than the United States, and people who are being shipped there are being snatched off of the streets by people who are not wearing any sort of official uniform, who are driving unmarked vehicles. And they're just throwing these people on planes and shipping them to this prison camp where this lady's at. So Christy Nome is the person who is in this video. And she has been making a handful of these propaganda videos for the Trump administration. And again, the people who are being victimized by this whole sending people over to El Salvador thing are being denied their constitutional right to due process.
Will be removed and you will be prosecuted. But know that this facility is one of the tools in our toolkit that we will use if you commit crimes against the American people.
Proposición y conspiración en el delito de homicidio agravado, tráfico ilícito, fabricación, portación, miembro de los 18 sureños. Estos sujetos interceptaron
Scan them immediately, give you the result, and you know that.
Our armed forces gave the whole rifles for our war.
Yep. Because you're giving from, is it 70 to 80, is that what I heard?
Yeah, there's the walk. She stood in front of those prisoners and gave a speech. We're going to go ahead and look at some additional video propaganda that MAGA has been pumping out. We're going to be looking at a clip that came from Midas Touch. They're a news podcast. They're currently #1 in the nation. And this was, the title of this video is Trump Blows Up Court Order with Bogus War Directive. This was posted on March 17th, 2025. We're going to go ahead and play a clip and see what's being done with these migrants. They took the migrants and went ahead and made a propaganda opportunity out of people who were not given due process and just thrown on an airplane. They shaved their heads. They treated them very inhumanely. And it sounds like they're not even, I don't know. I mean, there's people with legal status that are getting deported in these. So this is a very strange situation, but this is what the Trump administration is doing.
That's true as they get thrown in concentration camps and cages. This video is being released from the official White House rapid response account. So I'm showing you, this is what posted on the White House account. Here, play this clip. Yeah, so that's the video that the White House is showing, how these people who were not given due process, people who had court hearings saying that they were not part of these gangs. And now look, they could be lying. They could be part of the gangs. And if they're part of the gangs and they're tried, they're convicted, we have laws in the United States to deal with this. We don't.
So yeah, again, that is Trump blows up court order with bogus war directive. If you want to look it up, that's on the Midas Touch News Network. So, you know, I'm just here to put in my own opinion on these things. And I find that just seeing what the White House is doing, that was incredibly dehumanizing. And these are people who may or may not have been in the country legally. There are people who have legal status. A tourist from Canada was arrested and thrown in chains and taken to that detention camp. They're shipping women over there, and El Salvador's like, we don't take women. Like, this situation is beyond ridiculous, but these could possibly be legal residents as well. And not only are they doing this shipping them to a foreign country and denying them due process, but they're also filming them and publicly humiliating them in a demonstrable way. I highly doubt that those individuals gave consent to be filmed, first of all. No, it's just absolutely disgusting. We're going to look at one more clip. So this one is of Kristi Noem again, who's obviously their propagandist. First of all, that bitch's arms are fucking tiny, and to see her running around, playing around in what I consider to be the trades disgusts me, because first of all, I don't think that bitch could hold a fucking rifle or a fucking fire hose. She's got no muscle mass. So I just want to make fun of the fickle little fucking ideal of what people think a woman is supposed to be, or whatever the fuck that these people chose to pluck out, because what I see when I look at women that have no muscle mass is a sick, frail little fucking creature that was made to be controlled. So anyways, with that being said, you know, dumb bitch plays firefighter and dehumanizes the rest of us women.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem could be seen wearing an ice vest in pictures posted to her DHS Secretary account on X. Noem oversaw ICE operations during her stop in New York City this morning, aimed at tracking down undocumented immigrants. In a post on the account, Noem called one of the people arrested a, quote, criminal alien.
So yeah, I'm not going to waste my time on her. But that's the kind of stuff they're doing. They're out here putting this bitch in fucking costumes and filming it, trying to make it seem like she's so cool. I live with somebody who suffers from a mental disability, and that person is all about this Trump shit, you know? Because it thinks it's so cool. And this is exactly what we need to deal with. This is what we need to address. This is what we need to combat. You know what? Let's just take a look and criticize the White House website while we're at it. So disgusting. I hate these fucking people. What kind of shit is this piece of crap up to? This shit looks like a fucking WordPress site, yo. This is so ghetto. Everything they're fucking doing is ghetto as fuck. So this kind of shit, this is something else that we need to look at, is like how we're addressing issues. They're sloganizing shit. Anyways, we got one more piece of propaganda I want to take a look at. Actually, it looks like we've got two. So I found this on TikTok, and somebody said that was being distributed in their area. Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Donald Trump with a bloody ear and blood all over his face. You're distributing that to children? Just disgusting. And really shitty fucking graphic design, by the way. This, apparently, was being posted by the White House. So after everything that we just looked at with what's going on with immigration, this is just disgusting. But I'm just telling you, like, their graphic designer's doing a really fucking shitty job, and this is the kind of shit that they're doing. This is what their fan base is lapping up. It just makes me so angry because I see which artists I think I know that who they're trying to rip off. And it's just so disgraceful. But they're putting like no effort into this shit. It's the ghetto. This shit is ghetto as fuck. And they got all these morons lapping it up. So you know what? These morons like to give those guys money. So first of all, we need to get those people on the other side. And we need to start taking all the lies and misinformation that MAGA is putting out there and start getting the public educated by providing some truth. But we need to do it in a presentable way, because this is the kind of shit that their fucking fan base is lapping up. And I know that not all of those people are good people, but at the same time, like, there is a chunk of the population that, you know, do we want things to improve here at home or not? Because I don't think that they're all like that. We're looking at like half of the population here that we need to work with. If 45% of the population approves of what Trump is doing, they're all a bunch of evil pedophile rapists, or they're very confused. So I just want to point that out. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other shit that the extremist movements are doing that have attracted these people. So this is part of what's going on inside of MAGA, and this is the 3%ers movement has been misappropriating the Punisher. I'm sure the company is making some money off of it, but I mean, they should be ashamed. Marvel should be ashamed for allowing this, first of all. But that is something that the 3%ers have been trying to use. Like, here's an example. That looks like a copyright violation to me, that people are choosing to come out here and make their own Punisher merch. Marvel should sue them for trying to make it politically affiliated. So it really makes me question what is going on with Marvel. But yeah, the 3%ers are one of those right-wing extremist groups that have been trying to propagandize. So this is likely something that they would wind up getting into, you know. I've been looking at stuff on eBay. And so with their use of the Times New Roman font, by the way, I want to point out that like, they're using it, but they're stretching it out. So, like, I have a tool where I can grab and stretch and compress, and that's something. Look at this disgusting garbage. This is what we need to combat, okay? This is what we need to be fighting against, guys. And people are obviously making money off of it. So why don't we make money off of the same thing they're doing, converting their fucking guys over? You know, if anything, let that give you some motivation. Look at all of this shit. We need to come in here and we need to flood the zone and replace it with something better. So I'm really wanting to wrap this up, and I'm not necessarily enjoying having to even do any of this, but I don't think any of us are enjoying the ride that we're on. So I just want to make brief mention about the Russian cyber attacks that have been taking place. I'm just pulling up my agenda here. You know, there's been bots seen on multiple websites. So a lot of people will be like trying to talk on TikTok, and then they got all these people, you know, if the conversation is political, trying to disrupt the conversation. There's actually news articles about the Russian bots and the fake accounts that they've been making. So Pete Hegseth had recently lifted cybersecurity protocols against Russian attacks. So March 3rd, 2025, Hegseth orders suspension of Pentagon's offensive cyber operations against Russia. That's another thing that we need to keep in mind. So I wanted to tell a brief story. You know, I used to hang out with Anonymous, and there was that whole thing where Sabu went and like leaked information, and then people were just getting plucked off. But QAnon, I'm starting to wonder where QAnon came from. I mean, I always thought it was the FBI, but now I'm starting to think it was Russia. All of these fake anonymous accounts started showing up to replace the people that were getting plucked off in the anonymous groups. They pretty much overthrew the movement and replaced it with QAnon, the ridiculous conspiracy theory. So that's another thing we can do. We could try flooding them out. Just like have days where people go in and spam the shit out of their groups or start operating, you know. But I would suggest using a fake account that does not have your identity attached to it in any way if you're going to do something like that. But that could help. You know, we could take some of this propaganda and start putting it in the Trump groups. These guys are taking low blows. And they, in my opinion, deserve to be treated exactly how they are treating others. And this is the kind of shit that they're doing. So, you know, while I stand on the side of ethics and being ethical and all of that, These are people who are literally costing Americans their lives. And we're probably very most likely, I mean, it certainly looks to me like we're dealing with Russian spies trying to overthrow the country. So this is stuff to think about. That's all I'm going to say about that. What else do I have on the agenda? I'll opened it and then closed it again. All the right-wing extremist content creators on YouTube. I do think that the YouTube algorithm is trying to force that shit down our throats. I mean, it's Google. So, unfortunately, you know, it just makes me mad that we're getting shoved off of our platforms. And it's obvious corruption. And I don't, you know, our government should be focused on more important things. If we cannot even measure the national crime rate and hold murderers accountable, there's better things to be doing than to be taking away a source of income for millions of Americans and trying to prevent us from being able to speak to each other. That is not in the interest of the nation. And I do believe in freedom of speech. And I just think that this whole TikTok ban thing is very suspicious. I mean, we all see it. So, I don't know. This whole situation really just is shitty. But, I mean, you know, if you see if you don't want to be a content creator on the political side or whatever the fuck, follow these people. You know, help get them boosted in the algorithm on YouTube. You know, places like Midas Touch, these other content creators that are speaking facts. Like, as much as we hate the propagandists, we need to also be showing our support for the ones that are not doing that. So maybe during this time, at least right now, it might be good to start seeking out some people that are making content that's more appropriate for the public, you know? And there's like the 3 dots on YouTube, and you can click on that and you can put "don't recommend this channel" on these right-wing extremists, you know, like Joe Rogan and stuff. So there's things that we can do to try and like push them out of the spotlight. I've also thought about like people should file a freaking lawsuit against Fox News, because I think they need to take the word news out of their freaking shit. But there's some things we can do. So I am at this time currently openly endorsing the use of propaganda for these reasons. That is what they're doing. They're taking advantage of easy to manipulate people, and you know, I think it would be moral and right to actually, if that's the tool that's working, to educate these people, start creating that kind of content in a way that would actually be good for those people. Because I mean, there's nothing immoral or wrong about that, because right now they're just getting taken advantage of by people who are raping them for their money. But these are some things that we can do to start cleaning up the mess and reducing the safety risk, because we have a worsening problem, and crime and violence are going up, and so we need to find realistic solutions. I'm not making money doing this. I'm in a very bad situation. I've had everything taken from me. I'm dealing with a bunch of criminal activity, and what's happening is, because of what Donald Trump is doing to the judicial system and has been doing for the last 4 years through our federal agencies, you know, I have never filed a lawsuit in my life, and I finally went to do that, and what happens is they're just throwing cases out left and right. They're not even looking at them. So I think of this video I made mention in my previous video. I think I'm actually going to put that other video after this one. I don't know. But I just made a video talking about the backlog with documentation with a report on the backlog during the pandemic. Reference that. That's what I'm talking about. I'm in a very bad situation. I've been pretty much locked in a room for the last 3 years. I've gained a substantial amount of weight. My bank accounts have been frozen at least 3 times now. I'm not doing okay at all. This is not entertainment for me. I'm stuck out in the middle of nowhere with no vehicle. Everything has been taken from me, even my car. I have no access to means of income. I'm screwed right now, you guys. So as far as my ability to maintain an appearance online and be all professional, and as well as like how much stuff I'm pumping out right now, I'm doing it out of desperation and fear. Because for the last 3 years out of my life, I've been victimized by what Donald Trump is doing. So this to me is very serious, and I'm not speaking out just to try and be helpful. I'm speaking out because this is scary, and we need to find a way to make it stop. So with that being said, we got one more thing I'd like us to take a look at before I cut out here. This content is being provided for purposes of political criticism and public education and is protected under the Fair Use Act.
It's the people pushing the propaganda that caused that guy to do it. Those are the real villains here. And we're going to go after them. And the president's made it clear, we're going to go after them. The ones providing the money, the ones pushing the lies and propaganda, we're going after them.
If anybody is pumping lies and propaganda, it's Elon Musk. Look at his freaking Twitter feed. It's all of these MAGA dweebs, and they're taking advantage of people. So if he's going to sit there and he's going to cry on TV about propaganda, then my personal opinion is, since these are people that are attacking the United States of America and assisting a foreign enemy in doing so, then we need to defend the country first of all. And I think that anything that makes MAGA cry, we need to do more of. So I want to thank Elon Musk for raising awareness on the issue of propaganda, so that we could take this moment to have this very important discussion about protecting the nation and why propaganda is such a problem. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this video. Let's go ahead and cue the music.
So the Olympics is great, and Johnny for the others, you know, the World Cup, Johnny is the head of it. We had our top people, Wasserman. They all came in on the Olympics, and then I saw Johnny. And we got the World Cup too. And you know, it's only because they rigged the election that I'll be your president representing you there. You know, I got both of them. I got the Olympics and I got the World Cup. And I said, you know, it's too bad. One was in 2026 and the other was in 2028. And I said, I won't be there. I won't be your president. But then they rigged the election and now we won. So I'm going to be your president for the Olympics and for the World Cup. So Johnny, thank you for the World Cup. And everybody, thank you for the Olympics. We're going to have a great time.
Hey guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment to my videos. And also, don't forget to check out my shop where you could get this awesome Real Patriots Punch Nazis t-shirt. America, fuck yeah! And if you go to the link tree in my bio on most platforms, it's got links to everything, all of my stuff. You can find my shop there. I'm on eBay. You can also get this cool Exterminate MAGA sticker, cause MAGA's fucking cockroaches. And fuck MAGA, abolish MAGA, fuck you MAGA.